Hi everybody, welcome Tammy from Homesteading in the City with Tammy. Today we're in the garden again and I am going to finish planting my garden for the 2023 planting season. If that is something that interests you, stick around. So before we get started, I just want to welcome everybody to my YouTube channel. I appreciate you stopping by and watching my videos. For those of you that this might be your first video, I welcome you and I hope you enjoy the content. For those of you who've been here from the beginning, I really appreciate you coming back each week and watching the new videos that I put out. Well, as you guys can hear, we are definitely outside in the garden. The birds are chirping. It is finally a nicer, warmer day. We've had weather that has not gotten getting really cool right now. Good thing I didn't plant my garden when I did a couple of weeks ago, because we had a freezing frost here and I would have lost everything. I came out and I did cover the plants that I had, but by able to do seeds, they hadn't started to come out of the ground yet, so I didn't really have to worry about them. But I did cover up my blueberries, my raspberries, and then my lettuce, just so that I wouldn't get those to freeze. I didn't want to lose what I already had planted. So we're going to plant the rest of the garden. It's going to be our tomatoes, our cucumbers, some herbs, basil that I have, and I got a few more things of lettuce, because some of the lettuce that I had didn't grow, so it just didn't make it through its starters. So I'm going to get that planted. I'll show you what we have growing in the garden so far, and then we'll plant what we've got. Peppers and tomatoes. Oh, I got some leeks. I figured I'd try some leeks this year and see how well they do. I was going to put them in one of my pots. So I'll walk you around the garden here, show you what we have coming up from the seeds that we planted a couple of weeks ago, and then I will show you where we're going to plant stuff. So let's get started. So last time we had took these pots and we actually planted some carrots in them, and I don't know, can you see the little bout of carrots? I've been having a real problem with the chipmunk coming in and burying, if I could speak, burying corn, and he's dug up a lot of my carrots, but I've got some of them starting to come up, so hopefully I'll get quite a few carrots in these bins. This one looks like it's got a lot. It looks like a bunch of little grass growing, but it is the carrots growing, so those seeds are taken off, which I'm thrilled with. So I've got 4 pots of carrots growing, which will give me quite a few carrots. So this pot, as you can see, there's the hole where the little chipmunk is burrowing in, and he plants things. There's nothing in that hole at the moment. I'm not sure how he got out of here. Maybe that's a bird that did it. Oops. A bird that did that this time. I don't know. Not sure, but I'm having issues with holes like that in there. But this is an onion that came up from last year. So the rest of this tub, I'm going to plant the scallions that I got and get them in. They should be okay in here. But that's what I'm going to plant in here, the scallions. My other tub like that is the lettuce, and actually the red leaf lettuce is growing really, really well. My romaine, well actually that's not, it's red romaine, sorry. And then this is just regular green romaine. And then this here is my butter crunch, which we really like, and a couple of those died. So I got another thing of butter crunch to be able to put in there and get them to grow. They'll be a little bit behind everything else, but I can gradually start pulling the outer leaves off of these and allowing it to still keep growing. Get that leaf out of there. But yeah, so we've got some lettuce that we're going to be able to start harvesting here real soon. I've got to clean that out and get that ready to put some more strawberries in. I want to get this growing for strawberries. That just didn't happen last year. I don't know, everything that was in there ended up dying, and it might not have been good enough soil for it. I'm not really sure. But my strawberry patch is doing really well, and you can see there's a lot of strawberry flowers on there. So we're going to be starting to get some strawberries. I'm going to have to get my netting here in a couple of weeks and get that put on so that I can keep the chipmunks from eating my strawberries. But they're looking really good. Came through all of the weeds that I had down there. The bunny's gone. The hole is still there. As you can see, the hole is still there where the bunny was. But I don't think he's living in here anymore. My blueberry bushes are doing really good. There's quite a few buds on them. This one's has more buds than the other one does. So I'm hoping I get quite a few blueberries, but there is still quite a few buds on this one here. They didn't grow a whole lot from last year. They're still about the same size as they were, but I'm hoping I'll get, and there's still some buds that have not produced a flower yet. They're just starting. So hopefully I will get quite a few blueberries on these plants. My rhubarb is actually doing really good. I need to do a cutting of that. And actually I'll do that while I'm talking so that you guys can see. With rhubarb, what you end up doing is you find one of the bigger stalks and you just pull, and you pull the root out just like that. When you do that, it allows it to regrow and you don't kill it. When you cut it, it doesn't allow it to keep growing all season. And it doesn't always mean these big huge leaves here have got the biggest stems on them. Sometimes it does, but it doesn't always. But you just pull a few out each time you go to pick, and try not to pull them all out of the same one. You don't want to take too much out of it at a time and allow it to keep growing. But I did this last year and I had rhubarb all summer. I was able to get rhubarb. So that's all I'm going to pick on that right now. You just don't want to thin it out too much because it will not regenerate. So I got 5 decent sized things of rhubarb. I'll be able to make something with that later today. My herbs are doing really good. My oregano. The older one is starting to fill in again. It got some dead spots there, which is normal. That one, like I said, is quite old. This one is quite tall. It actually needs a haircut, so I will give it a haircut today, and I'll show you what I do with that. My raspberry bushes are going to town, getting pretty big. Starting to get some flowers on them, so I'll get some berries. Looking forward to that, having some raspberries. And then of course my blackberries, my thornless blackberries are getting pretty tall there. And again, getting some flowers on them so that I can get them to grow, or to bloom, and I'll have some blackberries, but quite a few flowers on there. I have to get this section staked up because it's getting quite tall and it's overcasting everything else in the garden. But this is where I planted my radishes, and they came up in spots. I have some part of a row there, part of a row there, and part of a row there. So I planted 3 rows, actually 4 rows, and only 3 part rows came up. Beets the same thing. I planted 4 rows and only 2 rows of those came up. And then it's pretty, I'm gonna have to separate those once they start getting a little bit bigger, and seeing if I can't separate them. If not, I'll just leave them the way they are and we'll just get what we can for beets. But the last 2 rows I got nothing out of them. These are the plants that I'm going to get in the garden. I've got some tomatoes, some peppers, I've got my cucumbers and lettuce over there, and then my shallots, some basil, and then some more lemongrass because what I had did not make it. Previous, about a month ago, I think it is now, I planted my cannas in the pots and got them going, and they are starting to come out. I've got 3 sprouts in this one. Nothing in this one yet. It doesn't mean that it's not going to come. This one, I've got a couple of sprouts in, and as you can see, something was digging in there, and I had to get out all of the corn that they had in that one. And then I got a sprout in this one here, and I should have 4 or 5 sprouts in each of these to make a nice big pot of cannas, but we'll see. And then my parsley that is 2-year parsley, I will get that cut. It looks like it's going to about go to seed, so I want to get it cut before it goes to seed, and that way it will keep growing there. But then I have these 4 pots here that I can put tomatoes in for on the front porch. So like my I've got some Chinese 5 colors, which are a spicier pepper, and I will put those on the front porch. We like the look of those on the front porch, so those will be on the front porch. The rest of them I will put into the holes in the garden that I have. But as you can see, there's not much, not many weeds in my holes that I have. Just have to pull out a few weeds here and there, nothing really bad, and get them staked up, and then I can have my garden planted. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my weeds out of the holes and then start figuring out where I want all of my plants. So as soon as I figure it out, I'll show you and tell you what I'm doing. So when you're planting your herbs, as you can see, these are definitely pot bound. There's a lot of herbs inside here, and you're just gonna rip it open and then gradually loosen one with a root, and then you can just start planting them spaced apart inside your pot. All of these will probably go in, I don't know if I'm going to put them in one pot or if I'm going to do 2. I do have an extra pot that I can put some herbs in, so I might put them in 2 pots, depends, and I might just put them in 1. I haven't really decided yet, but that's how you're going to do that. You're going to just split it apart, get some roots on it, and then just stick it in the ground. You can stick it in pretty far. You can stick it like halfway to the bottom leaf here. That way there's a good base, and it'll allow it to stay in the ground and root pretty good. So you just want to take the time to do that. So that's what I'm going to do now, is get these separated and get them in the ground. Definitely after you plant everything, you want to make sure that you give it a really good drink. If you have a fertilizer that you're going to use, go ahead and fertilize. If you don't, just make sure that you water it really, really good. Most of these are in some kind of a starting fertilizer when they start these plants. So there is fertilizer in the pot that the plants are in, which will help. But it does also help if you can give them some sort of a drink of a fertilizer. I usually use fish emulsion. I'm out of it right now, and when I went to the store to get my plants, the plant store, they did not have any in stock. I'll have to go to my local one over here. I went to the one on the other side of town because I was over there for the other greenhouse that I go to. But I will check our local one on this side of town and see if they actually do have it. But that's what you want to do. So I'm going to get these herbs planted and go from there. I did actually plant my peppers, and when you plant your peppers, you want to plant right up to the bottom leaf that they have. That gives it a good root base. Also, same with your tomatoes. When you plant your tomatoes, you actually want to plant them like in an L shape, so that and not bend them, but if they have a long stem on the bottom of your tomato plant. So here's the tomato plant. Here is the first stems that they can. You want to plant it right up to this one here. This stem you want right close to the ground. And you want to turn this, it's already going kind of at an angle, so you can keep it at an angle when you plant it in the ground. That way, all of this right here will grow into roots, and it'll allow it to give it a nice root base. So you'll have this going sideways and this going straight down. So you'll have all of this as a leg going sideways, and you'll have shoots coming off of that. So that's where you want to plant it to when you plant your tomatoes. Plant it up to the first full leg of branches. You want to cover the original leaves that came when the plant started. Those you want to go into the ground. So you want to plant it to the first full
branch of leaves that came out when you have like 3 or 4 or whatever it is that you have. But this one only has the first 2 little leaves that when the seed sprouts, those are the first original leaves that you get. You definitely want to get those into the ground, and you want to go, this leaf right here should be ground level when you plant. It should be touching the ground. So that's how you want to plant your tomatoes. And the peppers can go straight down into the ground, but you want to plant them to the first section of new leaves also. So your first starter leaves will be in the ground, which allows them to be roots when you are when they start growing. So the peppers that I got are really, really small. So they are big. There's barely any growth on these peppers, so I am planting them right close to those bottom 2 leaves, because these are the leaves that originally came out of the ground first, and then it split into these other 4 that are there. So it's really close to those leaves being right tight to the bottom of the ground. I'm not burying them because they're so small. I don't want to kill them, but if they were a little bit bigger, you would be planting those first 2 leaves right here. These 2 leaves, this leaf and this leaf over here, the big one, would be planted actually right in the base of the ground. But I'm not doing that because they are so small. I do not want to kill them. They still needed a little more time in the greenhouse for growth, but I needed to get them in the ground. So I'll get them in the ground. I'll water them really well today, and then I will go get some fish fertilizer, and then they'll get another good drink and allow them to start growing up. But that's where my peppers are. Like I said, they're really small, but they'll be fine. They will take off here in a couple of weeks. We'll have quite a bit of growth. I put cages around all of my plants as soon as I plant them, and then I have a little bunny that likes to eat all of my leaves, so on top of that I have to go put bunny cages around the base of my tomato cages that I put around everything, so that they don't eat them all and kill everything, because I forgot to last year, and the bunny ate almost all of my tomato plants. I was able to save them all, but he really did a number on them, so I want to make sure I get them protected. So I will, as soon as I get them in the ground, I will actually put a cage around them so that nothing will eat them. I have my garden planted. The cucumbers are there, the tomatoes, and the bunny cages around each one of my tomatoes and pepper plants. We are ready to get going on everything. Everything's been watered. The basil is in my pot. And there is the leeks, or sorry, shallots. I've got my shallots in there, along with one onion. Planted my little bit of lettuce that I had there. So the garden is planted, ready for everything. Like I said, those peppers are tiny, tiny peppers down in there. But we are ready for growing season to begin.
Well guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed gardening with me, and I will show you as everything starts growing what it looks like. We'll do some garden tours like I did last year. But yeah, so that was it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you have not subscribed, please consider doing so. It does benefit me by you subscribing to my YouTube channel. And as always, I will see you on the next one. Bye!